Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, and welcome back to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm Brooke Brigham, I'm the attorney.
And I'm Tess Brigham, I'm the therapist.
And we are here today to continue talking about Love is Blind, season 5.
Ooh, yes.
And so we'll be talking about episodes 8 and 9. These are the last 2 episodes before the big wedding finale.
Can I just say something?
Yes.
I hate everyone. The only person I like is Milton, whose name's not even Milton.
Yeah, we find out that's his middle name.
Is it his middle name? I thought it was like a nickname.
No, because they said that his father is James Milton.
It's James
Milton the third.
I missed that.
Yeah, he's James Milton the fourth, I believe.
Well, anyway, Milton's the only person that I really like.
Well,
I really don't like. I kind of sort of like.
I kind of like Lydia,
kind of,
but it's just that she looks crazy next to Milton. Combined with Milton, because we'll talk more about this, but he doesn't know how to deal with her. But yeah, so. Speaking of people we hate, so
I really, and that's the other thing. What's become so about this is that now it's just Milton and Stacy. Stacy. It's just Milton and Lydia and Izzy and Stacy. And I hate Izzy and Stacy. They just get under my skin now. And and I love Milton, but Milton with Lydia is just, it's hard. I don't think Lydia is a bad person, but anyway, it's not fun.
It's not fun. And there's only 2 couples, so we have to just constantly be with these 2 couples.
And see way too much of them.
Yeah.
So anyway, we pick up right where we left off.
Yes, this is the pool party from hell, basically.
Yeah, why any of these people just didn't get up and leave.
Oh my God. I mean, it was torture.
Yeah.
I mean, we have, Lydia has, I'm so verklempt.
so verklempt by these people in this situation.
Yeah, so Uche was telling Lydia how horrible she is.
Yes, you're a terrible, awful stalker.
Exactly. And so she storms off. And then Uche tries to take Milton aside and tell him how horrible Lydia is. Even though he's so contradictory. One minute he says, Lydia's a nice person, then she's a stalker, then he's like, well, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but I'm telling you that she's crazy and you shouldn't be with her.
I could not. It was awful because his whole thing was, when we were in the pods, I didn't tell you anything about Lydia. I didn't say anything to you about it. This sort of like this moral high ground of, well, I didn't say anything to you about it at all. I didn't talk about her. But Lydia was on this other side talking about me and telling Aaliyah all this stuff and about, what I own and how I look and all of these pieces. And you're like, okay, we got it. Got it, Uche. Yeah, he feels so wronged. It's almost this thing of like, I behaved myself in these ways and I'm a nice guy. He kept saying that. He's like, when I broke up with Lydia, I told her, I said, hey, I did the whole it's me, not you thing with her. And he sees that as being a nice guy. He really does think that he's this very nice, decent human being.
Because he didn't tell Lydia all the bad things
that she was
doing, and he just let her down easily. Yeah, I mean, it's terrible. Look, Milton and Lydia are engaged, okay? And he shouldn't be talking to Milton about Lydia.
Yeah.
And he's literally telling her, are you going to let her control you? And don't let her. I mean, it was just like, buddy, butt out.
Yes. Well, I think Uche will never admit this, but Uche's pissed that Milton and Lydia are together and happy and on the show in a way, and that Uche now doesn't have Aaliyah. And that he feels like Lydia blew it for him.
Right.
I mean, he's being and that now she is happy. And it's like, I'm sorry, Uche, you dug a lot of that yourself. The Lydia situation didn't help, but come on. And I like the fact that the other women stood up for her.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, I love the, who's the girl who... Miriam? She says, stop with your toxic masculinity.
Yes, I loved Miriam.
And it's really funny because nobody wants to talk to Uche.
Yes.
All the women, the Pod Squad women, were all like, why are you here?
Yes, they're all there. I mean, well, he implies to Milton that he believes, or he says he knows for sure, I don't know how, that she applied for the show knowing that he was going to be on the show. But he claimed that this is why Lydia applied for the show. And Lydia's like, how would I know?
What proof is there of that?
Proof of that? And then there was one point where they say, well, run, I think this is about Chris and Johnny or something like that. It's just funny because people keep saying everyone has their perception of how they see things. And a few people said, like, well, run the film, roll the tape. And it's like, well, I think if they had it, they would. I think we would have seen it by now. You look like an idiot. But I loved how he had this conversation, Milton, and then Lydia pulls Milton away. Mm-hmm. And then Uche walks back to the other women, and they're all are just like, ugh. They're like, Uche. And Miriam's like, you're a loser.
I was like, yes.
Thank
you,
Miriam.
Thank you. Someone said it out loud. Yeah, so then Uche's kind of relegated to the corner and he's on his phone.
No one wants to talk to him.
And then he wants to talk to Milton again.
Yes.
And he says, I would be a bad friend if I didn't tell you. And, that's when he says that Lydia planned to be there with him and all this
talk
kind of
to him
stuff.
about the stories, here, let me show you my phone about how these women were, all these women that were following me, she was stalking them and all of this. And on the other side, Lydia's saying, we had common friends. Like, these were people that I knew. And who was it, Miriam or the other woman, Renee? I think it was Miriam. She's like, well, yeah, of course you're looking at stories. You fucking someone? You're looking at their stories. You want to know what's going on.
That was that other girl. I can't remember her name, but she's like, everybody does that.
Yes. Which is what a lot of people do. I mean, I'm sorry. It's not a great look, but people do this intense stalking of people. And I don't know, maybe because you treated her like such crap that she was trying to figure out what was going on, or maybe she was watching all those stories to figure out who you were cheating with,
or just trying to figure out. But Milton really doesn't want to hear any of this, and this is when we get Milton math.
Yes. Well, but I will say this is Lydia says again that it was Uche that slept with someone else while they were dating, and this was the other thing that Uche kept doing. He kept saying, I wrote this down verbatim. I don't want this to affect your relationship with Lydia, but that's what they kept saying. All of them, Izzy and Stacy, all of them are like, well, I want your love to flourish, but
I'm just going to give you some information that's going to, destroy all that.
Yes, exactly. Sorry. So yes, we get Milton math,
and he says, he brings up the Pythagorean theorem, which I could not explain if I tried. But, he's saying that he's on an X axis and Lydia's on a Y axis.
And Uche's on a Z
axis, something like that.
They're all on an axis.
They're all on an axis going in different directions. And Milton has nothing to do with it. He says we're all on different dimensional planes. And Uche says, okay, well, don't let this come in between our friendship. And then Milton just kind of says, peace out. He walks away. He's just like, he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
I think he's lost complete respect for Uche.
Oh, gosh.
And if he ever had any, Uche tried to act like he was, his big brother and he's looking after him. I don't think Milton wanted that from him.
No.
And several times when Uche was trying to lecture him in the men's quarters, Milton was just like, I don't want to hear this.
Yeah. I remember one moment very distinctly, and this was before it was revealed about his past with Lydia. And he was talking with Milton about Lydia, and he was kind of lecturing him or pushing Milton to, you need to be more open, or you need to be more like this, or you need to be more like that. It's like, Milton's just like, oh, forget it. Listen, Milton's just, his mother told him that we all have our perception is our reality, and he's going with that. And his perception of Lydia is very different. And I have a lot of respect for him, because what Milton is seeing is the fact that I think he gets that, like, listen, your relationship with the two of you was not healthy. It wasn't good. It was a bad relationship. And that's why the two of you are like this. But I have a good relationship with Lydia, and our relationship works.
Yeah.
So bye.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's very mature.
Yeah.
It's like you might not like, you and Lydia might not work, but that doesn't mean we don't. So
then we get Chris talking to Izzy because of what Izzy said to Johnny about how, Izzy's very stuck in his own head with this. He's so stuck in this place of, you told me one thing and then you told Chris the opposite. And it's like, and Johnny's explained this to Izzy, and many other people have explained this to Izzy many times, which is, yes, she had an aha moment. She realized that she was wrong. She realized this. She realized that. But Izzy's got that same thing that Uche has, which is like, listen, we're friends. I'm just looking out for you, man. I just don't want you to get hurt. And it's like, who are you, Izzy, to come in here and tell Chris anything?
And they're not friends.
You're not friends. You guys were in this weird experiment together. And it's this idea that somehow because you were also in these pods, that you have the right to tell people what you think of them and how they were and how they act. And I know I've said this before, but it's like, honesty without compassion is brutality. Just getting up in someone's face being like, you're a mess, you're this, you're that. I'm just telling you this to be nice or to be friendly. It's
I'm just trying to help you.
Yeah. Or, you know how I hate this is what the housewives always do, right? I'm a straight shooter. I say what I see. And it's like, well, guess what? Don't. Nobody likes that.
It's not a good way to go through life.
Yeah. Shh.
Well, yeah. Izzy and Stacy are officially the worst. And so then Stacy joins in, starts ganging up on Johnny. And Stacy's like wasted and just messy. I mean, who gives a shit? Like, you ended up with the guy. What? Why do you care?
Well, so what's interesting too is Johnny brings this up. She said, talk about being deceptive. She said, you never told me how you had feelings for Izzy. And I do understand. I think what Stacy was doing, and we talked about this last time, which is, I think Stacy kept everything close to the chest, I think vest or whatever they say. She kept it close. She didn't tell anybody how she was doing. But I think many times Johnny, talked to her about her feelings for Izzy and how things were going. And this is one thing that I think maybe Johnny was implying, which is, she says that how did she say that Johnny believes that based on how Johnny was telling Stacy about her relationship with Izzy, that maybe Stacy sort of changed her behavior around Izzy based on what was going on between Johnny and Izzy. And I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting because she never told her. And so she's allowing her to reveal all this stuff to her. And I understand, again, Stacy doesn't have to reveal it, but I can understand feeling a little deceived a bit where you're telling this one person, like, I really, really like Izzy. And the other person is also really likes him too. And is just kind of keeping all this information to herself.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then of course, Stacy and Izzy, they get back together and they're like, we're good. We're great. We're so wonderful. Every time they just think they're so superior because, oh God, we're not crazy like those people. We're the straight shooters. It's like, Shut up.
Oh, yeah. It goes rapidly downhill for them from here.
Because now we see them at their house.
Well,
this starts to fall apart.
Yeah, but then before that, there was one final scene where Milton was comforting Lydia. And he basically just said, fuck everyone else.
Yeah.
I think you're great. I think you're awesome. And it's like, yes, Milton. Good job.
Yeah. No, that's right. I didn't write that down because I know I remember thinking like, look at Milton.
Yeah.
Saying exactly what he needed to saying exactly what he needed to say and just getting her to focus on what's real, what's happening. I was just like, that's why I love you, Milton.
Okay, so Stacy and Izzy come home wasted with the goblets in their hands. Hopefully someone drove them home because they both walk in with goblets drunk. And they're still talking about Chris and Johnny.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and of course they go back to this whole thing of, Izzy keeps mentioning how he's so grateful to be with Stacy and oh my God, because Johnny's such a mess. And I'm sure he's also saying and Lydia's a mess or whatever, but I don't think he feels comfortable saying that because I think Stacy and Lydia are friendly. But so Stacy brings up the fact that, which is very true, which is that she said, I'm having a hard time with this because I don't want you to just love me in comparison to Johnny, that I want you to appreciate me and love me and say nice things about me outside of all of this. And it seems like the only time that you're this open and effusive with your love for me is in comparison to, I dodged a bullet. And that doesn't feel very good.
Because he even said that Izzy said he was turned on by how Stacy was, going off on Johnny. And I'm like,
that's weird. That's
weird. Very weird.
Well, so he says that Izzy seems so confused by what Stacy's saying and his reaction. And of course, he's just like, well, Johnny was just a pod chick. And Stacy's like, yeah, I was in the pod too. I also was a pod chick.
Yeah.
And it is interesting because she kind of calls him on some stuff, which is apparently Izzy made a lot of promises. I'm going to cook for you. I give massages. I do this. I'm Mr. Romantic.
I'm going to draw you a bath.
Yeah, I'm all of these things. And she basically calls him out and says, hey, you have not done any of those things. You have not cooked for me. I don't get back rubs. I don't do this. You're not giving me anything. And I truly believe that Izzy does believe that he is doing a ton for Stacy because I don't think that Izzy really does a lot for people. I don't think Izzy's ever done any of those things for women. I think he does it. I think he cooks for them and maybe gives a back rub if there's like guaranteed sex or if he's part of his romance or whatever. But I think this is his MO. I think he tells people what they want to hear.
Yeah.
What he thinks they want to hear. And then when they come back and say, well, you told me all these things or you're going to do these things. He got so upset. He started crying in the closet. I mean, like has a meltdown because
he says, I don't feel like I'm enough. You make me feel like I'm not enough. But now I understand why she was so upset about the paper plates and paper cups and was talking about how can you cook dinner for he doesn't even have like proper dishes or plates or anything. And you're right. He had told her how he was going to be cooking romantic dinners for her like all the time. And then she gets to his apartment and she's like, well, with what? You clearly don't do this.
Yes.
Because if you did, you'd have proper kitchen stuff.
No, she gets it. And when she was turning to him to say, hey, there's a little bit of this discrepancy and I'm nervous, about the fact that you told me one thing and this is different. And the minute she tries to talk to him about it, he cries and then he retreats because anytime he gets confronted with anything, he takes this attitude of like the scared, hurt child of like, how dare you? It's like, no, you're an adult. Like, own it. Own the fact that like all he needed to say was, you know what? You're absolutely right. I'm sorry. I promised you to cook you dinner and I promised all those things. I started this new job. I've been so overwhelmed with it, but you're absolutely right. Here, let me do that. That's all he needed to say was just own it. But he couldn't because I don't think he likes it when people confront him with these things.
Well, and I'm just wondering, like, how was he raised, or what happened in his childhood that he is just so, he's just really fragile, but yet he tries outwardly to be, you know, real cool and tough and everything. And I don't know. He has issues. Like,
I think he's got, because he had these 3 women interested in him, I think he's got a really good game. I think he's very good at saying things, being cool. He's a good looking guy. I think he's got that whole thing down. I don't think that he knows how to do much past that
to deliver.
And so that's why when he says to Stacy, I feel like I'm working so hard and it's not enough. I feel like I'm working this so hard. He is probably working harder with her than he's ever worked with any woman in his life, because I don't think any woman has ever held his feet to the fire the way Stacy does.
Well, this is the guy who has that box of stuff that women
have lost and found.
Lost and found jewelry. I mean, he's really good at conquering.
Yes.
You know, like getting these women to come over and sleep with him, but then he doesn't, or maybe he clearly was afraid to go farther or didn't want to go farther.
Well, and he was engaged, and I think he feels like, well, I was engaged once, so I think he thinks that he's mature or evolved. And then he made a comment later on about how in the past, women have just, when it's gotten hard like this, I think it was a comment to his mom, where women have tend to run away. And I'm thinking to myself, are they running away, or are they just running from you? Like, maybe you're showing them something.
Or you're pushing them away, or something.
So, so that whole fight was so weird. I mean, did you see that? He went into the bathroom and then he sat in a closet, like a pantry closet in the bathroom or something, or where the laundry is. It was so bizarre.
It was weird. And she went over to the closet or whatever, and she's like, "What are you doing? Are you crying?" And she talks to him for a minute, and then she just walks away.
Yeah.
And then he crawls out of the closet
and slams the door.
It's like, oh boy. Anyway,
well, we have a very brief scene with Milton and Lydia. Are they in bed when they're talking about this? And we get Milton's math again about how they're on 3 different parallels, and Lydia allows her emotions to rule her life. And he would like for her to be a little bit more level-headed.
Yeah, he would like for her to try his method of handling emotions, which apparently involves doing math.
Yes.
So, but I think Lydia can handle it. She's in STEM. She'll figure out the math equation.
And then we see Stacy teaching Pilates. I thought she was a program manager or operations manager. Is this like a side gig?
A couple different. Well, she's an operations manager, whatever that means.
Yeah.
But apparently she doesn't make a lot of money because she also has to do Pilates instructing, and she's believe it or not, a makeup artist.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. This is on her, LinkedIn or whatever. Yeah. So those are her side hustles.
Yes. And of course we see her teaching
with full hair and makeup.
Yes. Yes. I don't know, that the teaching was a little much. I mean,
yeah, she would annoy me if I was having to be in her class. She was a little too peppy.
And then Izzy shows up, and that's a really nice Jeep.
Yes,
like how can you afford that Jeep?
Because we $75,000,
really,
at least, maybe closer to $100,000 tricked out new Jeep.
Is that potentially her car?
Oh, gosh, I don't know.
Is it his? Because I
don't
was
think
really
she would buy that.
When I saw the car, I'm like, of course you drive this kind of car.
Right.
And then I thought, I didn't know how expensive it was, but I was thinking to myself, that's a really nice car. And I don't think you have any money. So what's going on here?
I think that's part of the reason why he's broke. Because it looks to me like he has about a $1,200 a month car payment.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Wow. So he shows up I guess this is their big apology makeup session. And Izzy, of course, tells her yet again, he feels like he's putting in his best, but she doesn't appreciate him. And I have to say, one thing I like about Stacy is Stacy does not back down. Stacy does not take this attitude of like, oh, yeah, you're right. She was kind of like, no, I'm not going to put up with that.
Well, and also, look, Stacy, I feel, has been very honest from the beginning of who she is and what she wants. Mm-hmm. She doesn't mince words. And So, I mean, she's a princess, and
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know why she thinks this guy can deliver, and then she finds out later that he really can't deliver.
Yeah.
And he seems to get, he translates that into he feels unappreciated.
Yeah.
It's like, well, for what? What are you doing?
Yeah. Nothing.
doing
That's the
anything.
problem. So
Anyway,
God, and that gift he gave her. Ugh.
the plunger.
The plunger. Are we going to have to keep coming back to that? I mean,
I know, so gross.
and also, I don't know. If I was Stacy, I would not want that on television at all. But she seems to think it's funny too. I don't know. They have this. What was really irritating me was she has this like cute little voice for him, and then she talks like this, and like I love you. It's like, oh, shut up.
yeah.
I mean, that I just was like, ugh.
Okay, so then we're now at 10 days till the weddings, and we get to meet Izzy's mom, Raina.
Mm-hmm.
And, she seems to really be in shock. Oh, and then, I want to say Stacy's 3 dogs are obnoxious.
Did she have 3 dogs? Because I remember seeing that one dog, and I'm like, wait a second, I saw a different dog.
She has 3 dogs.
She does. So and they're big dogs.
They're big dogs, and as soon as you
2
come in,
seem
they
really big.
jump on you.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
They jumped on Raina.
No, well,
one of them
I have
did.
dogs that jump on people every time they come to our house too.
Well, at least they're little.
They're little, but
these dogs, they're like all up on your chest, because they're so big. They just come right in. But anyway, the mom asks, has she cooked for you? So I thought that was interesting. Like there's these different cultural expectations, I think. And it's like, no, Izzy promised to cook for her.
Yeah.
but he hasn't. Yeah. Again, I'm sure Izzy grew up never watching any man cook for
yeah,
a
which is
woman.
why I think he tells women, "I'll cook for you," and that scene is so romantic. You know what I mean?
Right,
I think he thinks, he's buying her flowers every Monday.
Mhm.
Trust me, he thinks that's a lot of
That should
mileage.
last all
Yes,
week. Yeah.
yes. But the way Izzy describes Stacy to his mom, is she's tough to deal with, but worth it.
Mm.
So again, I think this is the hardest he's ever worked on anything in his life, is basically rising to the bare minimum of what he promised Stacy earlier. And now he's feeling like, oh God, I'm doing so much.
Yeah, I don't know. I just really felt for Izzy's mom. I just think she's just going, what is going on here?
Well, yeah. And then Stacy shows up, and she shows up and they hug and they're talking, and Stacy says that Izzy brought out her emotional side. And I was just thinking to myself, God, you two are exhausting. I'm so tired. Can we fast forward through this? You two are so irritating. So finally we get to Milton and Lydia. Now, Milton's got a BMW, but Milton can probably afford it.
Oh, yeah.
He makes
He's
a
an
lot of money.
engineer.
Yeah. So we go to Milton's house. We learn that his name is James, or he's Little James. We meet his parents and his sister, Jessica, and brother-in-law, and I guess a niece.
Their baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Rita's the mom. James is the dad. And he looks like he might even be taller than Milton. I mean, he's huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, this family.
Yeah, they're very, very skeptical. I mean, the mom is just like, she wants to do the SWOT analysis about marriage.
Well, I mean, they're scary. I have never seen a more just intense, serious family in my life. I mean, there was no warmth in there. They mom or sister never cracked a smile.
Yeah.
Nothing. They just were coming right out and asking, like, what?
Yeah, why are you doing this?
Yeah, why are you doing this? Like, Rita wants, Lydia's whole, history and.
Why does a 30-year-old woman want to be with this? Why are you interested in this 24-year-old? And Lydia's giving out her resume, and I mean,
it's like
you're right.
It's like a job interview.
Yeah.
It was so intense and so serious, and it was like, even though Lydia, I thought, gave some pretty good answers. They were not moved.
No.
They were not impressed. The mom did say she liked to see women in STEM.
Yes.
She gave her that. But that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really scary. And then you think about, okay, this is Milton's family of origin. This explains a lot about him. And it also explains how Milton is uncomfortable with Lydia's emotions because there's no emotion in that family. Like, they are not used to sharing emotions or feelings or seeing it. And I think that Milton equates emotions with when you get, worked up about something as it being angry or threatening. When it's not. It's just like someone expressing themselves in a certain way.
Yeah.
But it's not coming from a place of anger. It's just like trying to communicate.
Yeah. Well, I think what also we're seeing is something interesting, which is I don't think Milton tells his parents that much about himself or about his life. And I think that he tells them what he needs to. And I think he keeps the rest to himself. And I always think that's really, really interesting because over the years, when I've had clients that have had, they have difficult relationships with their parents. And I've seen it. I've seen the parent like trying desperately to connect with their kid, and they can't because the kid has just learned that if I share certain things with you, if I'm vulnerable in this way, if I act like this, if I act like that, then you're going to
be judgment.
There's going to be all this judgment. You're going to put me down. There'll be a million questions. And I mean, that's what we got. We got the mom and sister, especially, they were absolutely, they don't think he's ready for marriage or he's mature enough for marriage, which I can understand them feeling this way, but there's at least this feeling of, I don't know how much you know about him.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? They were talking about, I don't think he's mature enough for marriage. It's like, how much do you really know about him? Because I don't think he's telling you. And Milton's alluded to this when he was in the pods about his childhood and growing up and how hard it was. Yeah. I mean, I think there was just, they make all their decisions based on thinking and logic, not feeling. And it's almost what you're saying. It's almost as if you make decisions based on how you feel, that you're somehow weak or you're, you haven't thought it through, or it's the wrong decision.
Right.
And I think that's very hard.
They have in their minds exactly how Milton's life should go. And if it doesn't go that way, they're not going to be satisfied. And, Lydia just does not fit what they want at all.
Or him going on the show doesn't fit.
No.
None of this fits in with what they want.
Yeah. And they just flat out tell poor Lydia that, I don't believe this. This doesn't seem... This doesn't make sense. And, what do you say to that?
I don't know. Well, that was the end of episode 8. So now we're on to episode 9, Love on the Rocks. And we get to see something we've never seen before, which is we get to see them get their marriage licenses because we are like desperately looking for content. So we see them all get their marriage license. And then it's like, okay, now it's 7 days before the wedding. And this is the part that I hate, and I usually fast forward a lot through, which is these wedding dress shopping. And, the women go wedding dress shopping, and there's Vanessa Lachey, and then the men go tuck shopping, and there's Nick, working on his putting green. And then we have to do this whole thing where we have to talk about everything that we've been talking about this whole time. It's such a waste. And watch them pick out dresses.
It's really boring.
It's so boring.
Yeah.
I don't think I wrote anything down. I was like, I don't care. We'll see the dress. We'll see the dress that you pick at the wedding.
Yeah.
I don't need to see it here, and I don't need to talk to every family member or your friends.
Yeah. Let us be surprised by the dress. That I don't. Sometimes they do show up in a different dress than what you see on TV because it's edited and whatever. But anyway, that's all really quite boring. So,
we're down to now we then have to watch them have these dates. So Stacy and Izzy have a date where they fly in an airplane and then eat dinner in the hangar.
They go to NASA.
Oh, is that where they
Yeah.
went? Oh, okay. I missed that part.
Yeah,
I was
they-
like, because I was so confused. I'm like, is one of them a pilot? Is one of them, I kept thinking like, oh, is Stacy a pilot? And I didn't realize
No.
it or something.
They're just using it, because they're in Houston and NASA, and so they wanted to make it, something special, I guess. It's their special day.
Yes.
Um,
And Izzy says that a lot of his family won't be there because he doesn't want any negative opinions or people who don't support his decision. So I take it there's some other family members or other people that aren't
who think this is crazy.
think this is insane, or I'm not quite sure.
Or maybe he just doesn't want. Yeah, he said doesn't want to deal with judgment. I don't know. That's a kind of a red flag.
Yeah. It was a dumb conversation. And then they start dancing in the hangar or whatever. I was just like, oh, God, I hate you too. Let's move on.
Well, and then I guess we go to somewhere in here. Does Milton and his sister
that's next.
go
Milton and his
to
sister
lunch?
have lunch. And again, the sister never cracks a smile.
No.
Sister's still very skeptical. And I think, did she say this? That the family has always been a part of helping him make his big life decisions. Does she say this, or is this my own analysis?
I don't know. Could have been.
I think this was my own analysis. So yeah, this is what I wrote. I said, they've always been there. She alludes to it. And I said, they've always been there for these big life decisions that he's made. And they're really bothered that he's made this one on his own.
Yeah.
They are really bothered.
This is the first time Milton has done something by himself.
Yeah. And they're annoyed. And she is so annoyed.
And it's a big one. It's a big thing. He went on the show and he's doing this and they're horrified.
Yes.
This is not part of these people's plan. They are so controlled.
Yeah.
That this is just making them crazy.
Yes. Well, yes. But this is too much. This is a lot.
Like
just wait till Lydia's in part of the family.
Oh my God. I would like a show on Milton's family. I'm not even kidding. I don't think I've ever seen on any of these shows a family quite like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I guess they hit you harder than they hit me. I guess I was just more, I just sort of expected that. I figured they would be, but I guess you're right. The more I think about it, they were really, there was never a smile.
No.
There was never a moment.
No.
You're right.
And I don't think we even heard the men talk. It was just Rita and Jessica. They took over. They were just gonna.
Yeah, the brother-in-law, we barely saw him. He kind of came out with the kid and then beelined. He's like, oh God, I gotta get out of here.
I don't want to be here for this. He knew. He knew it was gonna be bad.
Yeah.
So then Milton and Lydia go to this. I don't know what it is. It is a museum.
It's a museum, I think.
And it had these beautiful, gorgeous, gemstones.
Minerals.
Minerals. Okay.
Milton's always saying minerals.
Okay. But
they
rock?
were beautiful.
They're rocks,
yes.
right?
It was beautiful. Yeah. And
it was
obviously Milton
stunning.
likes to go there because he's like, this is my favorite. This is this.
And Lydia, who is the geologist, didn't even seem.
Yeah.
She was just kind of like, oh, yeah, this is nice. I mean,
that
I'd
was
be
weird.
walking around looking at everything. I mean, it was gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm not even into rocks. And I would be like, ooh, cool.
Yeah.
Neat. Oh, wow. But yeah, she seemed oddly cold about it.
Yeah, I think she's preoccupied
with all of these things. And then, we can finish talking about the Lydia and Milton date. But I think, isn't it beforehand that we get into the Izzy Stacy stuff with the credit card?
Oh, yeah. That's when the day after their date, they're packing. I think it's
because it's one day before the weddings.
Yeah.
And Izzy and Stacy, they're packing up their stuff. And you could tell there's something going on.
Right. There's tension.
There's all this tension. And then you keep looking at him and he's got all of these clothes just shoved into a bag, like almost like a paper sack. And he just shoved them in there. And he's making some sort of comment to her, like, oh, I'm going to miss this place and all of that. And then you could tell she's livid. So, they talk about this quote unquote credit card stuff. They never get into exactly, I think we can infer what we think happened, but it sounds like the situation is this, that in the past, in the last couple of weeks, I guess Stacy in the pods asked him, like, do you have any financial things that you need to share with me? And he said, no. And then I guess they were at a gas station one time and she said, oh, do you have a credit card? And he said, no. oh, I don't have a credit card or
Yeah, she asked him for a credit card to pay, and he said he didn't have
he doesn't
one.
have a credit card.
And then she asked him, I'm sure,
Why?
Why?
Don't you want the points or don't you want this? And instead of being honest with her in that moment, he said, oh, no, I don't
like,
want
he said, I had a credit card back in college and I didn't like them. So I don't have one. I don't use one.
So I take it, I don't know how this was revealed, but so I'm assuming that it means that he defaulted on a credit card or something.
Yeah,
or
he has bad credit, his maxed out credit cards, and maybe he had to file for bankruptcy.
Do you think it's bankruptcy? Because he kept saying, well, it was only $3,500. It was something about like a credit card that was $3,500.
That's not true.
You don't believe that?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't believe that. I mean, yeah, he basically he can't get a credit card, or he's maxed out all his credit cards.
Or he's not able to pay, and obviously he's defaulted on some things
and
because he's got terrible credit.
So the accounts are closed. You're not going to get any more new credit cards. Whatever it is, it's bad, and he's downplaying it, and he's not being honest with her.
Yeah,
he's just flat out lying. First, he was just like not telling her. Then it moved to lying about it and lying about it multiple times to make it make sense. And it's never going to make sense until you tell the truth.
Well, and the problem is that what he doesn't get is that he will not own, back to that same thing. He will not own or admit that when you and I talked about this at the gas station, that he won't admit that he lied in that moment. And he keeps like skirting around it. And she's like, no, but you lied.
Yeah.
You flat out lied to me. And he's like, well, no, because I just didn't want to get into it at that moment in time. I just didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to do that. But it's a little bit of like, well, then you didn't need to tell her. You could have said, okay, well, I do need to talk to you about this, and this is a bigger issue. I don't want to get into it right now.
But he should have talked to her a long time ago. I mean, we're one day before the wedding.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Obviously, when she said to him, "Do you have any financial issues in the pods?" He did not want to reveal to her.
But he told Johnny, because remember Johnny, when he dumped Johnny, she came out and she was talking to the women, and she's kind of crying and upset. And then she says, well, it's kind of probably just as well. He told me that he just broke a lease, and he has all this credit card debt and something else. So he had told Johnny.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So he told Johnny, but he didn't want to tell Stacy.
Because again, I think Izzy is who you want him to be. I think Johnny, he got the sense of, oh, Johnny's broken. She'd be understanding of this. She's had a hard time. But then he gets Stacy, where it's like, oh, she has money. She's not going to be understanding. So I'm not going to say this to her. I'm telling you, this guy, he is so shady. Yeah. I just find he is so shady with this stuff. And I think just like Uche, he thinks he's a nice guy. He thinks he's a decent guy, but he is so shady. And Stacy's panicking a bit. And I don't blame her, because I think she's like, if he's going to lie about this, what else is he going to lie about?
Yeah.
And what happens when, I wouldn't want to merge money with him.
No, and he's just not who he says he is. He does not make romantic dinners. He does not have money. Money's very important to her. He cannot take care of her the way she wants to be taken care of.
Yeah.
I think she should say no.
Well, and her whole thing with Izzy, she said this many times, is what she loves about Izzy is that Izzy has brought out this more sensitive side to her, that she tends to be really guarded and closed off, and that he brought out this side of her. And I keep thinking that there's something that it's almost this feeling of with Stacy. I think, Stacy, you chose to be more open with him. I think, I don't know if it's necessarily that Izzy does this for you. I think that you decided to start being more open vulnerable. And vulnerable. And I think you're thinking that because you're being this way with him, that somehow this is about him and not you. And I just feel like, I think she decided somewhere along the way of like, if I'm really going to try to get married here, or if
she had to.
If I want to hook someone, if I want to keep going with this experiment, I'm going to have to be vulnerable. And I think she keeps attributing that to him.
Yeah,
it's agree. Like, well, no, it's not about him. I think it was anyone you would do that. I do think her reads on people are very good. I mean, her whole read on Milton, about how he's the surgeon that comes in last minute and you just put on the gloves. I thought that was a great example of, I think that's who Milton is. I think Milton is, it's not that he's clueless. I just think he's of someone who's of this high intelligence that's not really paying attention to a lot of stuff going around, and that he's just focused on one thing. I think she does a good job of those things, but man, for herself, not so much.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anywho.
Oh, and this is the other thing too. I also think that Stacy is blinded by the fact that Izzy was so wanted. Do you know what I mean?
He was a hot commodity.
He was a hot commodity in the pods. And I think that also blinds her as well.
Yeah.
I think she thinks that I think she's a competitive person. And I think she feels like she won something. And now the reality of who he is.
It's like you really,
you won a winner.
Yeah. You didn't get anything.
So and then this last part was the Lydia and Milton date.
Yeah. So,
and this is also a bit of a mess too.
It is
not as bad as the credit card, but
yeah. My notes here are weird. Again, I can't tell if this was stuff that was said or stuff that I just wrote down myself.
So basically, they get into this whole thing about Milton's messiness, and he's saying to her, "I don't feel like I can talk to you sometimes because you can be so emotional. So you can hit that." And I think that it started because we didn't see this on camera, but I think he said something to her about how she handled the Uche situation. And I think he said something to her to the effect of, "Hey, that's not how I would have handled it." And she took that she really took it personally. And she's also she's too emotional. He's too analytical. She's too emotional. Like they're two extremes of these things where he keeps talking to her in this very logical way of, "I'm not criticizing you. I wasn't judging you. That's just not how I would handle it. I think a better way to handle it is to just say what he did, which is, okay, hear ya, got it, goodbye." And so she keeps getting really defensive and mad. And all Milton's trying to say, which I really liked, which was he said, if someone does something to disrespect me, I show them that they've disrespected me with my actions. I don't need to say it to them that you've disrespected me. But obviously Lydia feels as if he's not hearing her.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it, is that Milton doesn't validate her feelings. And I'm not even sure he knows what that means or looks like.
Because I don't think anyone validated his feelings.
Nobody has ever validated his feelings, ever. No. And, I do think they both have different definitions of emotion or emotional. I think it means something different to him. Like I said, he did not grow up with that. Emotional to him is like red light, like like something's really wrong.
And that's bad. If you're emotional, that means that that's bad and that's the wrong way to react.
Right.
And that's what he learned growing up. So he keeps seeing her being emotional. And the problem is she's so blinded, because I think she probably gets this feedback a lot from people, which is I think she's so blinded when he says the word emotional or all that. She gets defensive. She gets defensive instantly. And she's like, "But you're judging me." And it's like, well, no, he's not. It's not exactly that. And
she's getting quote unquote emotional. I hate that word. Yeah. It's not even a good word, but she's crying out for validation, because here's this guy who never validates her feelings, who's very shy and introverted, and she wants validation that he really loves her. He's really going to work with her to do these things, and should they be getting married and all this kind of stuff. She needs some validation from him. And so the only way she knows how to get it is to bring these things up, which he interprets as her getting emotional. Yeah. And then it's just this vicious cycle that they go through.
And I think that the problem is, if Lydia could take a step back and really look at the situation, to me, I feel, if you look at the Uche situation, I feel like Milton really did validate you. Like, I feel like, because he validated by his actions.
Right.
His actions were to make sure she was okay, to pull her out, to say, "Hey, we got to go soon." And he was doing all of those things to help her, to stand by her, and to be her partner. And she can't see that at all. But the other problem is, and I think some of it's the way he was raised, and I think it's also his age, is that he also kind of just doesn't know how to be. And he doesn't get that, okay, I just need to validate her right now. Like, even if I don't agree with it, let me validate that. And I don't think he has enough experience in relationships to know that about himself. I think that his messiness is going to make her crazy.
Yeah.
And I just keep thinking to myself, you know what? You both make a lot of money. Like, hire a cleaning person to come in once a week and clean up all of his dishes and all this crap. I mean, it's like, Lydia, he's never going to be as neat as you. He's absent-minded. He's all over the place. He's like a mad genius, you know? It's like, God, he's just never going to do it. But I feel for him, because I feel like all she does is harp on him about the cleanliness.
Yeah.
Which I don't, that's not a good one.
That's not how you get people to change. I mean, you try to work with him, and he's never going to be 100%. So you know what, Lydia, just fucking pick up the sweatshirt and throw it in the hamper. It takes a second and a half.
Yeah.
Is it really that big of a deal?
Yeah. I mean, listen, you got to fight. You got to figure out what your battles. And the problem is that in any marriage, you're not going to, everyone always feels like they're doing more than the other person. In every marriage, everyone always feels like they're doing more. And people get so into this 50-50 thing, and it's like, no,
life is not.
It's
like
not.
That.
Life is not fair, and you both are going to be doing things for each other, and it's going to feel lopsided at times. But you have to trust that it will all smooth itself out. And listen, I'm celebrating 20 years of marriage.
Yes, in a couple of days.
In a couple of days.
Congratulations!
Thank you, on Gabe's birthday, October 11th. And so I think I know a thing or two about marriage, and I know that if you. The biggest thing is you have a choice. You can either see what this person's doing for you, or you can see what they're not doing for you. You have a choice.
Yeah.
So you got to see what they're doing for you. And if Milton is, and that's the other thing, it's like, maybe Milton's doing a lot of things that you're not appreciating, right? Because men have different skill sets. Like, God, I mean, I never have to worry about getting oil in my car or dealing with tires or any of that kind of stuff.
Your husband does all the cooking.
Mine, yes, he does. He does do all of the cooking. He is a much better cook than I am. And now he's turned me into someone who I can't even make hard-boiled eggs. My son doesn't want me to cook for him ever, because he's like, oh, you're the worst. So I cannot do anything now. But
that's fine.
it works for us. Yeah. Yeah, but it's everyone has their strengths.
Yeah.
So anyway.
All right.
So what is your prediction?
Let's do predictions.
Yes. Do you think either of these people are going to get married? Now, can I just say that I was going to say yes to both of them until I saw the scenes. And I don't know if the scenes were trying to trick me a little bit.
But they always get very tricky.
Yeah, okay.
Remember last year they had us thinking that Brett and Tiffany weren't going to say
that's true. That's true.
They always manipulate it so much. You can't tell.
Well, and that's the one thing about this season that's so hard. There's no Brett and Tiffany.
Yeah, there's no one to really root for.
Who were the first ones?
Oh, Lauren and
God, is it a C? Cameron
and Lauren. Yeah.
There's no Cameron and Lauren. There's no Brett and Tiffany.
Yeah.
There's none of that. So there's no one to really get excited about or root for. But anyway, so what's your prediction?
So I think that both Lydia and Milton will say yes.
Okay.
Now, until we recorded this, I kind of felt like Izzy and Stacy were both going to say yes. But now when I think about it, I think Stacy might say no.
Yeah.
Because I think that lying about the money and not bringing it up and I think that's going to be too much for her.
Yes. Well, and it's been many things.
Right.
First, it was the lost and found. I think it was seeing his apartment, the lost and found, the paper plates. I think it was that. I think it was, seeing maybe how he acted at that party and always comparing and Johnny. I also wonder if she's caught him in other lies. Do you know what I mean? And so, but I think that this one with the credit card is huge. He keeps downplaying it, but it's like, no, no.
No, you completely lied about your finances, and it's probably way worse than we even know.
Yes. I'm sure it is.
So,
but how can he have that Jeep? I mean, it's just like,
you know what? People have their priorities. There are people driving around in, $100,000 cars who don't even have
a steady place
place to live.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean anything. Obviously, that's where he's put all of his money, which is why he's broke.
Well, it's not in plates.
No,
it's not in silverware.
He hasn't been to Home Goods.
No. So I agree with you. I think Milton and Stacy, why do I keep putting those two together? I think Milton and Lydia are going to both say yes. I think Lydia really, really wants to get married. I think Lydia really wants this. And I think Milton really likes her a lot. So I think Milton logically feels like he can figure anything out.
Right.
But I agree with you. I think Stacey's going to say no.
Yeah. Well,
all right.
Join us next week when we will cover the
final episode.
I hope they don't try to do one of those live finales again.
Oh Lord, I don't think so.
Yeah, that was a big disaster. I haven't heard anything about it, but yeah.
I mean, last time we recorded that night, or we couldn't watch it. We had to record it the next day. So
yeah, because it didn't come on.
Yeah. So I don't think we're going to be jumping to get on top of this the way we did last time.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for joining us. And if you like our podcast, please don't forget to subscribe. And we are also we're covering Sister Wives season 18.
Mm-hmm.
And when we finish Love is Blind, we're going to be talking about some documentaries.
Yep.
So you have that to look forward to. And if you can, please go to, what's it called? Apple Podcasts. And leave us a 5-star rating. That would really help us out a lot.
Yes.
To get our podcast out there. And we're on TikTok and Instagram at PsychLegalPop. And we will see you soon.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.